I've often asked myself, well, where's John Adams now, and how are the artists I met in the Backwater Gallery?
You can't buy the wind, you just lose. Shy away, out of danger. You got a life to live, just you.
What is art? Nobody could answer the question, what is art? So I'm going to answer it. Are you ready? Okay. I'm going to tell you the truth, and it's hard to hear, right? But all my life I feel like I've been criticized by people a lot. What is important? What is important is what you do in your life, how you affect other people around you, and how much you appreciate the people around you.
John is a person of really high integrity, extremely open, and extremely strong views on principled views on a lot of principled issues.
His work to me reflects a great honesty and integrity the way he works.
He's very upbeat, and he keeps us going.
Gosh, there's so many words I could say, but the love of my life.
He just spoke, lived, did. That's how it seemed to me. Straight from the heart.
John is a very strong advocate for preserving the old buildings of Cork, including the Docklands. And so he would be considered a radical artist, I suppose, in many aspects of his work. And that's another link that we have, because I'm quite radical myself.
John is against a lot of the unfairness in the world. He's against corruption. He's against destruction of beautiful buildings. He's a strong streak of sincerity in absolutely everything he does, and that does come through in his paintings as well.
I thought the amount of demolition of old buildings going on around Cork Harbour, and also the building of so many pharmaceutical factories and heavy industry in the harbour, I thought it was spoiling the harbour and ruining the harbour. So that's why I started painting the harbour. But as I painted the harbour, I moved up into the city because it was a natural progression. And when I started painting some of the buildings, like I did Blackrock Castle, I started painting buildings in a much more realistic way and trying to make them as beautiful as possible. I painted all the buildings in Cork City that I felt were telling a story about the city and that were iconic buildings. This particular painting was more an example of the modern developments that are going on in the city. Whether people like them or not is very questionable. I'm not a fan of any of the modern buildings in Cork City. It's a piece of shit building!
Like the ocean eroding, the rocks on the shore. Art is eroding the fog on our souls. It's always provoking and chipping away at the chains that imprison our brain. Art is a hammer, and here is the picture. Look into the future and see. The rodents are smashing, the cold wind is lashing, and this is a world that can be. Reality twisting.
I walk downtown every day, and I'd always look in at his window, and I was fascinated by the paintings he had out. I never really met him until I decided that we would start an art class, and so I was thinking, who could we ask in Cobh to do art, to teach us art? The Swells, which is the active retirement group that we are part of.
And I've always wanted to do art. But I had heard of John before that as well, you know. But I didn't know anything about him really, but I had heard about him.
I have to ขอบคุณจอห์นมากๆเลยค่ะที่สอนให้วาดรูปวาดภาพศิลปะเอาศิลปะออกมาจากตัวฉันเนี่ยออกมาได้อย่างงดงามภูมิใจมาก
I don't like to get caught up on details too much. You know, I'm not one of these painters that goes into the finest. Although I must say, the Paul Brady one is definitely did my head in. 2 years of pain and misery trying to paint that painting and get it right, because I really did struggle. Sometimes I struggle, especially when I'm going to the super realist painting. Not that that is a super realist painting, but it's as close to it as you're going to get with a John Adams painting. You know, sometimes paintings defy logic. You know, they might not, sometimes it's like you're trying to get across something, but it turns out differently to you originally expected it to. I'm an expressionist painter, and that's why I love wild brush strokes.
Some people put it on canvas, other people made music, other people just became people who talked all the time, and but it was all wonderful. Yeah. It was kind of out of the flux of life, and that's where this comes from, and from that period of my life, and I'm very glad. Now, I was down in Cork, and it was when we were dealing with the Colm O'Brien said to me, look, there are studios being set up, and this is one of the ways of providing spaces for people to do their work. And it was in the Backwater studios that I met John. And he said to me about it, he said, I'd like to give you a picture. And he was giving me a particular picture. And I was standing in front of this one here. And I said to him about it, I think I offered to buy this one from him now that I remember it. And he said, no, he said, you can take this one instead of the one I was going to give to you or whatever. The interaction of the Connerys, that I liked the painting from the very beginning. It's the way I have always operated, really. And it's what I would have recommended people, that is that you don't have to have reasons that are in paper before you go to look at a picture. You could, it's only fair to the piece of work to let the piece of work develop its own relationship with you. That's to me a principle.
So a lot of my paintings have a dark side, and you can see behind me there's quite a few that do have a dark side. The 3 popes up on top there.
I speak in text, I hear by phone, my fingers type my words forlorn. I see no one, I sit at home, nowhere to go. I'm all
They were inspired by a megalithic tomb in the most incredible artist retreat I've ever been to. Apparently it's 4,000 years old or more. And, you know, I was lying in that tomb. For some reason, I felt like the spirits were talking to me. I don't even believe in an afterlife. I don't believe in God. And so therefore, it doesn't make much sense that I believe the spirits were talking to me. But I went back to the studio and I created a series of paintings without any real, you know, idea of what I was doing. Basically, the popes are a good example of how you can mix different techniques together because I did the background first, and I used a brush, a big 9-inch brush, to get the background. And it's meant to represent like a Pope mobile. One day I had an accident. I spilled a load of paint on a canvas that was lying on the ground, and I started playing with it and ended up creating something that wasn't really that beautiful, but it was very interesting. There was a lot of detail I noticed that was accidental. So I started experimenting with paint and liquid and water. This is my painting in the Crawford Gallery collection, which was purchased way back in 1999 by Peter Murray. This painting is a perfect example of the different techniques combined that I've used over the years, with my pouring technique used for the ocean, and it's where you put the canvas on the ground and you use a lot of PVA mixed with the paints. The particular paints here are Bristol paints that I used in many years working in the theatre. A lot of my paintings haven't been seen very much, like the three popes. They've been shown maybe once or twice way back in the 90s. They've been hanging in my house ever since, really. It's extremely difficult to get an art exhibition in Ireland, especially in the publicly funded galleries. I find it nearly impossible. I've applied for so many exhibitions, so therefore I'm left to organise my own exhibitions. I got this idea one day when I was cleaning the beach, and these corrugated sheets are rubbish that I found on the beach, and I just thought, what a brilliant way of expressing the struggles that animals are facing by putting it on the rubbish from the beach itself. And also, I think the corrugated iron is actually quite beautiful. There's amazing colours in it. If you see it under the sunlight, for example, you can see the depth of and the range of colours within the rust. This is the side of being an artist I don't like. Every artist is polluting the environment, really. Using paints, washing their brushes into the sink. It's against everything my exhibitions are about. I'm definitely trying to find some alternative, some kind of paint that doesn't hurt the environment. So therefore, the older work, like the popes, and a lot of the paintings here are quite old, haven't been seen for many years, except by people who come to my house. Something that people mightn't like to talk about sometimes is, the bad times. The times when you really feel like life is just too difficult. And I have to tell you that sometimes I suffer from depression. And people very close to me were extremely critical, always critical, and very rarely complimentary. And this seemed to go through my whole life as a child. I express my feelings through my work, and it's through being an artist that it helps me get through these times. In that particular time, when I came back, I started a series called Remain in Light, which is a series of paintings in the dark forest where the light is really far away through all the trees. In the distance, the light is far away. You're in a dark place. This was a series of paintings done by my subconscious mind slightly. I just started painting the trees in the dark place, but I wasn't trying to be realistic. I was trying to capture a feeling. As I continued painting these paintings, it started to lighten my mood, as if to say, I started to feel a bit happier. And this is something that I always say to people who suffer from depression. it's always good to get creative when you're depressed.
John is many things in my life, but without a shadow of a doubt, the love of my life. But also the funniest and most explosive energy that I've ever seen from any human being, and the biggest heart. Someone that people's lives are better for knowing him. Even if he drives you bonkers sometimes, it's good to know John. It's good to have him in your life in some way, as a mate, as a part of a party crew, to learn art, to get into the sea with. There's so many ways you can know John. You can know him, it's almost infinite.
Just one cornetto, give it to me.
Who is Claire in my life? I have been blessed to have the most wonderful family. It's a small family. I have one sister, Lindsay, and my parents, Peg and Quentin Adams. They're the most wonderful parents anybody could wish for. And we've been through good and bad times, and luckily we've come through it all as a close little unit, a happy family. My parents are getting old now, and it's a struggle to see them getting old, and it's getting harder for them to get by without help from myself and my sister. I'm so happy that I'm here to be with them. And for me, family and friends is what life is about.
He would love, his dearest wish really is to settle down and have had a child, and to teach him what he knows and loves about art and everything else. But at this stage, I don't think it'll ever happen, and it's been a terrible, terrible tragedy for us.
I'm surprised I'm still here, 59 years old. I've so many regrets in my life. I've no children, which kills me. I love kids more than anything. I would give up all my paintings, all the art I ever created, just for one child. The trouble is, the wrong people are setting the agenda for the arts these days. The administrators, the curators, the critics. These people aren't artists, but these people are setting the whole agenda in the arts world. These are the people that the politicians listen to, and they seem to have got it all wrong. They don't even teach painting in art colleges anymore. The skills don't seem important. It seems more important to be able to write about your work. How can that be art? You're better at writing about your work than the work itself. Now, you better be bloody good if you want to be an artist. You have to have the skills if you want to be an artist. It's pointless being a painter if you can't paint. Art is when somebody has something to get out of them, their feelings, onto a piece of paper, onto a stone, onto a piece of clay, onto a piece of printing. Art is that person's feelings.
Take me back to the ocean, scatter me out to sea, sailing on to the island, head sail full with the breeze, looking back I lived a good life, filled with meaning and with love. Now sailing o'er to the island, breeze blows boldly enough. Who was before? Who's yet to be? Who is here now? I am with thee. I am one with the porpoise, with the seal, with the gull, sailing o'er to the island, above, beside, and below.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who can learn lots of lessons by learning about my life and my mistakes. Okay, when you're ready. Here's a little song for you. Get up the yard! Get out of my house! You lousy bowsy! Your image a cowsy! Get up the yard! Get out of my house! You lousy bowsy! Your image a cowsy!